Welcome at Aviation Event and Aviation TV. And today we're having our main sponsor and host of Aviation Event 2020 as our guest here in this talk, in this Skype talk, Julian Jäger from Vienna Airport being with us here. Hi, Julian. And that brings me to the first question, which is a kind of expected question. How's the airport running? What's going on? How many paxes per day and how many flights per day?
Hi, good afternoon, Marcel. Nice to talk to you. It's still a weird situation here at Vienna Airport, I have to say. We're having a reduction in passenger numbers in April of more than 99%. So we are having 15 to 20 landings and departures per day. We're having 300, 400, 500 passengers per day. Whereas at the same time, last year, over Easter, we had 100,000 passengers per day. So it's really a weird situation. Still, cargo is up and running, although we feel there a significant reduction in cargo traffic as well. So we really feel the crisis.
Yeah, it feels like a small regional airport, doesn't it? With 15 flights per day, I mean, that's...
A very small region.
Very small. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somewhere in the north of Finland or Norway. I'm just guessing. Okay, but talking about Austria as our hosting country for Aviation Event 2020, and there was some news beginning of this week. Basically, Austria's chancellor, Austria's government decided to lift some of the restrictions. As far as we heard, can you describe some details and what does this mean for aviation and traveling?
Yeah, sure. I think Austria was one of the leading countries in Europe with the lockdown and the shutdown of our society, essentially. I think the effects were very good. I think the government took control of the situation. And I think in terms of new infections, we are among the best countries in Europe, and therefore I think it was necessary and good to lift now some of these restrictions. I think from an economic perspective, Austria is obviously as hit as many other countries around the world. I think unemployment increased by a few 100,000 people within a couple of days. A lot of people are still like our employees, nearly 6,000 employees of Vienna Airport, work in a short time scheme. So therefore, I think it was absolutely necessary to lift some of the restrictions. Unfortunately, travel is so far not affected by any improvements of the situation. But it's a good sign as well that now some services and most of the shops are allowed to open as of yesterday, and the rest of the shop and shopping centers and so on will be allowed to open from May onwards. There's still no decision on schools. Obviously, the more you open up the economy, the more people have a problem with the kids being at home and not at school. So I think there need to be a decision taken there as well in the near future. But let's see how this opening up of the economy and the society works in the next few weeks. I think the major challenge for us in the aviation industry and in the tourism industry, and I think those are the two industries who were hit from the very beginning, and I think we will be hit probably longer than other parts of the economy. I think the major task would be for politicians and the European Union and local governments would be to come to a conclusion in terms of the freedom of travel. I think we need a solution within the European Union. I mean, right now it's not that easy to go to or possible to go to Slovakia, Czech Republic. There are restrictions to more or less all the countries around us. And we are restricting a lot of people coming to Austria, obviously. So I think we need, at least within the European Union, we need a common scheme in the next few months, which allows traveling, which allows to start again with business contacts within the European Union, and consequently we need a common scheme how flying is possible under these circumstances. And I think the sooner we have a scheme which applies at least to all of the European Union, the earlier we can at least get into into some kind of normalization.
Yeah, and do you think something like this is upcoming in the next? I mean, you said month. I was a bit shocked, to be honest. I would say weeks. I mean, it is necessary. We can't. I mean, we are in a stadium of after Second World War. The borders are completely down. Yeah, I mean, you can't without any special permission, and even these are very, very difficult to get. You can't even go to your neighbor country, even though if you live in the border area, which is really a restriction which we had not been seen since the 50s or even 40s. Mm-hmm. So it will take months, you think, to have a solution for Europe, or?
I mean, I agree entirely with you that we would need it within weeks. Still, I'm not too optimistic on that, and I think we've seen in this crisis the weakness of the European Union, that in the end every member state does what they think is the right answer to this crisis, which is the absolute right of every member state, but obviously it does not help the economy, and it does not help traveling. And therefore, I think it would up to the European Commission and the member states to come up with a common scheme which opens up again the freedom of movement within the European Union, and we should come up with clear guidelines how flying is possible and how airports should be operated in the times of the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's the next question. Travel, still airline, airport traveling, going a bit more beyond EU. Yeah. I think even in Vienna, the intercont part of the business is not too small, I think, due to Austrian Airlines and maybe some others. Mm-hmm. So when the intercont things are going to be back, I mean, China is already back. China traveling is more or less possible, I think. But how about other destinations, especially westbound, South and North America? This is more than critical as well, isn't it? For a couple of times.
Absolutely. Personally, I think it will take a bit longer until long-haul travel will be somewhere close to normal levels. I think travel restrictions will be more difficult to be lifted, probably towards the US, even to Asia. And I think the willingness of people to fly 10, 12 hours will be probably less than it used to be in the upcoming months. So therefore, I think the flying within Europe, within the European Union, should recover more quickly than flying long haul. So I think the challenge in this respect is probably even bigger.
Yesterday we had someone from the aviation security industry here on our screen. So what's your expectation regarding would there be additional security measures during or after that crisis, like taking the temperature of the passengers or whatever? Is that already in planning? Are you able to cover that if restrictions like this would come from the governments or from international organizations?
I mean, right now every passenger is being health checked from the authorities in Vienna airport, and I definitely would not rule out that some measures like that might make sense on a European level if this allows then the freedom of movement. So I think this is exactly what we would need, some common measures to check in a way the corona status of a passenger. But I think this would have to be done on a European level, and it does not help if every member state would have their own measures in place.
Yeah, so like with all the aviation security, basically, it's normally it's 100. It's let's say it's 99% the same in every member state. Let's say like this, yeah, and probably we would need the same for health status.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everything would have to or should be done with a certain caution, I think in terms of security, we went a bit overboard after September 11th, and one could question if I don't know, the restriction on liquids really makes that much sense in these days. And I think this is something which should and could be questioned at this point in time. So if there are new measures in terms of health checks, I think these should be implemented, but with caution, so that we don't overdo it. But definitely, we have to give people which are traveling by air a new sense of hygiene. I think we have to give them the security that it's safe, that airports are a safe and healthy place, and I think it would help a lot if we would have common guidelines within the European Union in this respect.
And coming to a midterm and long-term vision here, aviation industry will probably be the last to be fully recovered. That's what you said, and that's quite logical because of these travel restrictions and so many countries to be involved. I think in Austin, from your airport, probably more than 95% of all flights go abroad, don't they? You have very few, and probably there would be much the same figure for all major hubs, even Frankfurt, Heathrow, and even Charles de Gaulle. They have the major part of their traffic going outbound and even outbound of EU somehow, so it's clear that it will take longer than other industry. But what's the vision here? When are we going to be back to be normal? I'm hearing a lot of times from politicians, from people, from journalists, right here in Germany, but probably it's the same in other countries. Nothing will be like before. To be honest, I'm not believing in this. I'm more believing in how much time will it take that everything will be like before. Because why would people, let's say in 1 or 2 years, not go into vacation by air? Why would people not flying to business meetings or whatever? Why would this not be done as before? I'm asking this question and be happy about your opinion. The question is, will everything like before and when?
I think things will change. I think, but at the same time, a lot of things will be very similar like before. I think, obviously, a lot of people are using now for meetings and so on, Skype, Zoom, and so on, and all these technical facilities. And
like both of us, instead of meeting
absolutely
at a nice restaurant, we're sitting here,
and I think this works in many instances very well. And at the same time, people find out about the limitations of these technical devices. I think it's very different to go to a board meeting. Just a few days ago, we had ACI board meeting in a virtual ACI board meeting. And yes, it works. You get the information, but I don't think that that the discussions are of the same quality. I think you lack the chat before the meeting and after meeting with colleagues. So I think things will change, and people will use these things more. Definitely, the aviation industry will look very different because there will be consolidation through this crisis. I think the strongs will get probably even stronger, and some of the weaks will disappear. So things will change very significantly. But at the same time, I think which will not go away is the desire of people to learn about other cultures, about other countries, to meet people. And definitely, I'm sure, whenever there is a vaccination or whenever the virus is gone, I think there will be a lot of people who want to go on travel. And like me and my family, we had planned to go to South Africa over Easter. We didn't go, obviously, but for sure we want to go at one point in the future. So I think it might take longer this time until aviation rebounds, but I'm still convinced that we live in a growing industry, and it might take a few months, maybe a few years, but I'm sure people still want to travel, and people still want to meet other people around the world.
Yeah, human beings, they like having fun, traveling, meeting people, meeting family, by the way. I mean, it's not only about meeting new cultures, it's also flying together for family and other stuff, for business reasons. And I think it will be the same as before. The question is how quick this will come back somehow. Last thing, and then I would like to leave you with some closing words. I would like to have another opinion as you have on the thing that when you talked about the airlines just a minute ago. The larger ones are getting stronger and the other ones getting maybe weaker or disappear. States are doing things in these days. States are giving a lot of money because being conscious how important aviation infrastructure, big surprise, is somehow, would be, big surprise. That's what both of us kept saying since years, I think, Now people and they're giving a lot of money, and as many billions of euros are given, some millions for some airlines wouldn't be so important anymore, to be honest, politically seen. See Italy and other countries, Would you really think that many airlines would disappear? I'm seeing somehow a bit the opposite, because Alitalia was about to disappear completely somehow. I mean, it's ongoing since years, but now it's safe for years because the state finally said, okay, it's going to be state airline, finished. And this happens probably in other countries as well somehow. So I'm not sure if this consolidation really happens. I'm even saying consolidation may be even postponed. What do you think about my thesis?
Yeah, probably you're right. I think we have the same discussion in Austria, and I think it would be absolutely necessary to find a solution for Austrian Airlines. I agree with you. A lot of people and a lot of politicians realize now how important the aviation industry is and how important the aviation industry is for the economy. On the other hand, I think the environment, when everything starts up again, will be very tough, and competition will be probably even tougher than before, because there's a lot of capacity then in the market. So yes, you're right. Maybe we are seeing contradicting trends at the same time. I think to a certain extent there will be more state influence and government influence on the aviation industry. At the same time, I'm convinced that airlines like Ryanair, like Wizz Air, they will want to make use of the opportunity in a market which is significantly smaller at the beginning, and I'm sure they want to grow and increase their market share. So I think nobody really knows what's going to happen, but I'm sure there will be very significant changes.
Very shortly, the major airlines being at your airport, it's Wizz Air, it's Austrian, obviously, it's maybe still Level, and it's somehow Ryanair together with Lauda. What's the status? Are they're all down, I think, and are they getting money from the state, from the Austrian state, or somewhere? How they're handling things? Are they pulling people out already, like we heard it from Wizz Air this morning? Is things happening like this, or what's the status very concretely?
I mean, most airlines in Austria use this short working or short time working program from the government, which is very generous and which gives a lot of support. We use the same program. So far there have not been many layoffs in the industry, and then everybody is kind of waiting. When we are back in operation, when will we open up? Everybody's in a way watching the situation, if there will be a proper summer schedule possible. So for the time being, there's not a lot of movement. All the planes are parked. All the airlines you mentioned stopped their operation in and out of Vienna, and in the end, we will have to wait and see when there's the recovery starting.
Coming to our aviation event, 9th of June, that was the date which we planned since over a year, to be honest. Very probably we can't keep to this date. I mean, we need to be honest here. I think the plan is that we find alternative dates by end of April and decide then if still 9th of June would apply or not, and if not, which would be the new date. What's your opinion? June, travel months, conference months, or too early? Just quickly.
Personally, I think that's too early. I think it would be better to shift it to autumn. I'm sure in autumn everybody will be extremely eager to meet friends, industry colleagues. I think we could have a great event, be it in September, be it in November. So I would be an advocate to shift it and delay it until autumn, and I'm sure we will have then a great event in Vienna.
Yeah, I mean Vienna in autumn instead of Vienna in early summer. Okay, still nice, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you with these nice words, and we come to an end. Thank you, Julian, for this insights of Vienna and a bit of worldwide. Yeah, let's talk again maybe in a couple of weeks, I would say. Probably beginning of May would make some sense when we possibly have the new date for aviation event. And we hope that beginning of May we have some indications for freedom of travel, as you said, at least inside the European Union. Because without that freedom of travel, aviation industry will stay still on ground, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, unfortunately.
Okay, then. Have a nice rest of the day. Thank you. Last week I closed all these interviews here by wishing stay healthy. I changed this since a couple of days, and now I'm saying keep flying.
All the best, Marcel.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.